1993, Historic Massachusetts released a list of 10 historic properties that were considered endangered. Their threats ranged from neglect and vandalism to demolition and inappropriate development. The properties on this list were representative of the challenges faced by hundreds of other historic properties across the Commonwealth, and their listing was a call to action to shine a spotlight on their plight before they were lost and gone forever. The world of historic preservation has changed over the past 20 years, including Historic Massachusetts becoming Preservation Massachusetts, but in many ways it is the same. Each year, people concerned for the fate of an important piece of their community history use the Massachusetts Most Endangered Historic Resources Program to focus attention, get recognition, and assistance in saving what is important to them. Each nomination and resource comes to us with a different story and its own unique need to find that ultimate preservation success. As the 20th anniversary of the Most Endangered program approached, Preservation Massachusetts saw an opportunity to take a step back, see what we have accomplished, what we can improve, and where to go from here. With the assistance of 2 graduate interns, we undertook an outreach campaign to collect status updates of all the buildings, structures, and landscapes included on the list for the past 20 years. We initiated contact with town historical commissions, historical societies, planning boards, state and local preservation groups, and in some instances, individuals who led their own crusade to save a particular resource. Analyzing the current statuses of these resources, which sites are considered saved, progressing, endangered, or lost, and examining what circumstances led them to their current state, allowed us to evaluate the effectiveness of the Most Endangered program, ascertain its strengths, and identify its weaknesses, rather than simply tally a number of saves and losses. Of the many endangered historic resources at risk each year, these selected sites are especially pertinent to individual community character and sense of place. Both in spite and because of these impending risks, many houses, public buildings, structures, and landscapes maintain their own fan bases, those who recognize the inherent value of these resources to the character of their communities and the state of Massachusetts as a whole. Without these supporters at the local level, many of these resources may have been lost long before their nominations and selections. For these sites and their community support systems, the Most Endangered provides a vital jumpstart to ongoing campaigns to preserving these components of Massachusetts' historical landscapes. Criticism of the program indicated that in some instances, this jumpstart is the only component of the Most Endangered program. Some cited disappointment and noted there was little to no follow-through. This led to a finding that there is a misunderstanding that exists between what the Most Endangered program does versus what some expect the program to do. As an advocacy organization, Preservation Massachusetts can only do so much. The program can serve as a vital first step to gaining public support and statewide attention to endangered historic resources. The ultimate saving of these resources, however, requires more than support. It requires cooperation and collaboration between community administration and local groups and organizations that share a common understanding of the value of the historic resources to the community character. These groups and organizations recognize that preserving historic resources enhances their quality of life. Without this common appreciation and understanding, the preservation of historic resources is often futile. The majority of discussions found the Most Endangered program is most effective as a PR tool that brings attention and awareness. Listing as an endangered resource has the power to instill a sense of urgency in the local community. When news of a potential loss is spread not just through preservation-minded circles, but through a network of local news and media, awareness grows, focus sharpens, and preservation action can grow. The resources that have been successfully protected over the years as well as those that are well on their way to being saved, are many. In 20 years, only 24 resources have been completely lost, while 82 have achieved their own version of preservation success. These successes would be impossible without the strong community interest and volunteer efforts that are often amplified by most endangered listing. Groups dedicated to the mission of preserving the endangered resource seemed instrumental in achieving that saved status. Possibility for preservation often depends upon securing a new or continued use, one appropriate to the resource and beneficial to the community. If the community values needs over preservation, and especially if the community sees preservation and development at odds, the endangered resource tends to remain endangered or is even lost. The findings from our research, undertaken by graduate students Mary Service of Boston University and Caitlin Hart of the Savannah College of Art and Design, have been compiled into a 20th anniversary retrospective booklet, available in print this evening and also on Preservation Massachusetts website. From resource updates to qualitative analysis of the past 20 years, we hope this booklet will be another useful resource in the preservation toolbox. So now that we have researched, questioned, interviewed, debated, and searched our organizational soul, where do we go from here? The ultimate goal of this retrospective was not to showcase numbers of resources that have been saved or lost, but it was to really listen and think hard about what this program has done well, what it hasn't done well, and what we can do to make it better for the next 2 decades. Criticism, but we cannot grow a stronger program until we know and understand our shortcomings. And we realize the program is not perfect. As an organization with very limited capacity and funds, we cannot become the consultant or the funder for every endangered listing. Therefore, we have to get creative in how we can work collaboratively, forge partnerships, and mentoring networks to make the program and most endangered listing more impactful and beneficial to the resource and preservation efforts statewide. This valuable process has taken us well over a year of planning and strategizing, and we are still not done. We will utilize the next several months to have more in-depth conversations with our partners about how we build the Most Endangered program through positive collaboration. As we seek to grow this legendary program, there will be the inevitable growing pains, which come with improvements, and we look forward to your support so we can emerge with an even more impactful and meaningful program. On behalf of Preservation Massachusetts, thank you to everyone who has ever nominated a resource from 1993 to 2012. You are the tireless advocates that keep the preservation community going. And also thank you to all who have participated and supported the program over the past 2 decades, from selection committee members and dedicated interns to present and former staff. Preservation Massachusetts hopes that within our retrospective research, you will find some inspiration and perhaps a little bit of motivation to keep on believing in the power of preservation, the strength of our communities, and the bonds of our shared historic resources. Thank you for being a part of the preservation of our Commonwealth. Good night.